What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the second edition of an exclusive podcast focused on all things Empire State Bank, a podcast series called From the Vault. Today, in our second episode, we have, of course, with us the CEO of Empire State Bank, Phil Guarneri. We also have a special guest, Chef Peter Botros, here with us today. What's up, Chef?
What's going on? Thank you for having me, Phil.
Thank you
Anthony.
for coming.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
This episode, we wanted to focus on entrepreneurship and really also on how a bank can be more than a bank, more than a financial institution, but also be a partner in helping grow and found a business. And what we want to kick off the episode with is, the first encounter between both you and Phil and how, the bank kind of partnered with you and helped grow you into your empire, right? More or less is what Phil said.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two first meetings with Phil. There's my previous life as a mortgage banker.
Well, that's true.
And then from my relationship with Phil and Empire State Bank prior to becoming a restaurateur, I knew that that's where I was going to go to have my first conversation about some funding for what is now the Stonehouse, but back then was called the Lake Club that I was looking to purchase.
The Lake Club, I forgot that. I
Yeah,
forgot it was
yeah,
going to call that.
yeah.
So, you know what? Before we even get into that first encounter, give us a little bit about yourself. Give us like the 30-second overview. Talk about Peter, your previous life, current life, and then we'll get into the conversation.
So quick overview is, local Staten Islander, went to high school at Port Richmond, ventured off the island to go to college in Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey, got both my bachelor's and a double major master's from there.
I didn't know you were smart. I've known you a long time. I didn't know you.
I don't know that I would call myself smart, but I was able to get through school pretty quickly. The double major master's was in marketing and finance. Throughout college, I was a server. Always loved the restaurant industry, always loved food. And upon graduating, I actually was still in the restaurant industry as a server, making decent money, loved the industry, but it was time for me to venture out into what I thought was going to be my career, and that's when I became a mortgage banker. That's where I met Phil and had interactions with Empire State Bank. But at that point, unfortunately, I got a little bit ill. And going through that process, I realized I wanted to do something different with my life. And that's how I found myself in this crazy whirlwind of a business and where I am today, which, starting off was the first restaurant, the Stonehouse. And, I guess we can let Phil explain the first interaction.
I'm interested. I want to hear this.
Yeah. So as Peter said, we had met because of the mortgage industry brought us together, and we have similar personalities. I think we're both
Workaholics?
Well, we're certainly both workaholics. I think he has me on that one. But
I don't know. You're everywhere. You're everywhere.
So we shared a lot of common things and values and perspective of business. And Peter came in one day and we sat down and he presented his dream of becoming a restaurant owner. For a banker, it's a little difficult because it's really taking a chance on a new business. Right. And restaurants, as we all know, are probably one of the more riskier ones to finance.
Was it 95% in 2 years?
We're I believe the current number is 93% fail within 2 years.
90, okay.
But we got into the conversation. I think there was a very important ingredient was that we knew Peter's character.
Right.
We knew that he was built on being successful, and that's important. That's old-fashioned banking.
Right.
Okay. So we talked about the possibility of doing an SBA loan. So an SBA loan is made for new businesses.
Okay.
The trick to that is you don't look at the past because there is no past.
Right.
You look at the future and you work off of projections. But one of the major ingredients is in the business that you're getting into, you have to have experience.
I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Right.
No?
Right.
Just so on the outside to look it in.
Maybe.
Just a little.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that later.
Right.
So what happened in the conversation was I said to Peter, you're a server, you've been around this, but you never really owned and operated a restaurant because, as Peter knows, there's a lot more to it than just bringing out a plate of food, right? And I think I made the suggestion, sometimes you get started with a partner, okay? Someone that can bring in that experience, okay? Of course, Peter was smart enough to structure his partnership the right way. And he brought in a partner. He got approved for an SBA loan. And
now, how many years ago was that? I'm curious.
I'm dead.
That first conversation was in 2012, towards the end of 2012.
Wow.
Stonehouse is a unique place because it's a Parks Department concession.
Right.
So it's not just your average deal where you can, make a deal with a landlord and move in and
Right.
start doing some construction and open the doors. We had to get approved by the Parks Department to take over the venue, which was a 14-month process. So the conversation that I had with Phil and Empire State Bank, we started that in late 2012, and we didn't consummate the deal and take over the space until 2014.
And Peter makes a very good point there. When you're looking to get certainly into a business, the pre-planning
Right.
is so important. So in that process, Peter, I'm sure, had his accountant lined up, his attorney,
Right.
his other experts that he needed to have, and he prepared himself for that launch day. Many times, too many times, we see people come into us and, they don't have an accountant.
Right.
So where are you going to get your projections from?
Right.
So it's important to align yourself with those experts, okay, as you go into the transaction.
I think it's important because obviously, small business owners are different in and of themselves. Entrepreneurship is different in and of itself. But a lot of people don't think of a bank as the partner. They're thinking them just like the institution to do stuff. But
Bank
you
is
wouldn't have gotten that from.
so important.
But you wouldn't be able to get
Yeah.
that kind of customer service from a large bank. Right? You
No,
wouldn't
and
be able to
that's one of the reasons why the first person I thought of was Phil when we were thinking about opening a restaurant. It's important to have local support. You need to be able to pick up the phone and speak to someone.
Right.
I'm lucky enough that I could speak to Phil directly. I try not to bother him that much, but
You don't mind, I'm sure.
everybody on the team is accessible,
Right.
which is really, really important. You don't get that with the Chases of the world and the Citibanks and the TD Banks. Yeah, there's a place for them, but when you're talking about a small local business, there's almost no value to be put on the fact that we could pick up the phone and call them, and they pick up the phone and call us too,
Right.
right? If they see something, they've caught things on our behalf that looked a little fishy and things like that. So it's very, very important to have that connection with somebody at the bank. It's not always going to be the president of the bank, the CEO of the
Right.
bank, but we have several people that we speak to on a first name basis at the bank that help us handle I think we have 25 accounts now.
20.
Yeah.
All right. So I was going to say that's 2012, 2014. So 2014, we're going to jump around a little bit, but let's fast forward to that one location, that one conversation, that one infusion of cash, right? Let's call it what it is. That then led to the new empire. How many? What do we got? 20? Over 20? We said.
I honestly can't tell you the full number because it's hard to count because we have a few under construction and a few in the conceptualized phase where we are just signing a lease or about to sign a lease. So counting is a little bit difficult for me. I kind of put my head down and run. I don't do too much of the dwelling and counting and looking at that because my every day is filled with moving forward and building the new places, choosing design, menu development, names,
Right.
logos, things like that. So that's at least half my day, and the other half of my day is making sure that the existing places are operating at the quality level and service level that we set out in the beginning, right? So my job is twofold, right? It's looking towards the future, building mainly from the creative side, but also going place by place, meeting with my managers and my my executive chefs in the kitchen and make sure that all the sauces are on
Right, of
point,
course.
that the recipes
Yeah,
are
yeah, yeah.
being followed, that the plating is being followed, that the place is organized and neat, that the service is up to standard. So that's the other half of my day. So that's why my days don't end, and there's no start and no end to it because there's looking towards the future, and then there's making sure that nothing falls through the cracks while you're growing. That's kind of the hardest part is how do you build moving forward
Right.
while making sure you don't hurt yourself with what you already have.
And-
Peter, you just described what you do, and I'm sitting here and I said, that's what a CEO does, right?
Yeah.
Right? Looking strategically at the future to build your business, but at the same time, having good managers and people that keep your brand up to where it needs to be.
Right.
So
I
very
mean,
interesting.
you could see by the chef jacket. I love the chef jacket, by the way. I always tell you that.
Right.
So talk about from a back end standpoint, like from the business standpoint. How important was it that as you scaled, you had a partner in a bank that scaled with you, right? Because
1,000,000%. And I'm going to talk specifically, and I don't know if this was something on your radar, but COVID.
Of course.
the help that we got from the bank during COVID was probably the most impactful thing on our growth. And you probably don't know that because I don't think we've had this conversation. But when all these SBA loans came out, the PPP, the EIDL, there was a revitalization fund. All these things came out, and nobody knew what they were doing.
Right.
Nobody. No business owners knew. The banks didn't know. And again, I've never had this conversation with Phil, but I know how he is, and I know what you thought at that point. You thought to yourself, this is an opportunity for us to master this, help people, and retain customers and grow our customer base. You thought this is the way I'm going to double my business by helping people get these PPP loans and EIDLs, and they were amazing. We called everyone under the sun to try to help us navigate. I was lucky enough that I have enough of a financial mind and background to understand what they were looking for, how to package it, but most people couldn't get through that process and
Right.
get themselves funded. But having somebody like Empire State Bank there, they did know and they did help tell you, no, you need this report, not that report. You need to show X versus Y, and packaged it nicely so that they could get funded. And at that time, they were one of the only banks that were actually able to deliver on getting you approved for these loans. So that was a turning
That's
point for
interesting.
us because
Yeah.
not only did it save several of my
Of
businesses,
course.
the ones that didn't necessarily need saving, it gave us the extra cushion to feel comfortable to continue being aggressive in what was a very scary market,
Yeah.
right? So during COVID, we actually opened.
I was going to say that. You open.
I opened 3 places during
During- yeah.
COVID, which was a little psychotic, but we
Right.
wouldn't have been able to do that without the financial support that Empire Bank helped us get, right? So these were government-backed programs, but most people were unable to get it. I know a lot of people who had a really tough time getting the PPP loan.
Right.
And they said things to me like, "Oh, we don't qualify." I'm like, "What do you mean you don't qualify?" And it's because they got told no, and the no was enough for them.
Right.
So
Not having that strategic partner that knew enough about it to guide them.
Exactly. So they positioned themselves as the expert on how to get these things done, and I can tell you that it was definitely noticeable to speak to you guys about these loans versus some of the bigger banks that they were shying away from it. They were scared of them. They wanted to throw their hands up and say like, we don't know,
Yeah.
unless you had a super clean cookie cutter,
Right.
very easy to see path to this approval.
And I think we spoke offline. Weren't you doing them for non-customers? Am I
Well,
correct?
here, so
Those people became customers.
Right.
now.
So that's true. It's funny. Peter describes it. I wish I had that foresight, like you're saying, that I saw that there
you
was
did, no?
Well,
You're a smart guy.
well,
Somewhere deep down, he was
it
there.
kind of came to me in a different angle. Okay, because when COVID hit, my major concern was it the end of the bank, right? Because if you look at it, we're making loans on all these commercial real estate properties. People like yourself are paying the rents. Okay, if you're not open,
Right.
my loan's not getting paid.
Right.
So I remember that day, and it was a real scary day for me, the day that all the businesses were being asked to close down. And we just sat back and we got together. I got together with my management team, and I said, look, I don't know where this is taking us, but I could tell you there's only one thing I know is we got to save the businesses in our communities
Right.
the best that we can, because that's what'll make us survive. So, yes, we did. And we took not only our own customers, but we took customers in our geographic footprint.
Right.
Okay, so if you were banking with my competitor and my competitor couldn't get your loan done, you came to us. We didn't ask a question. We didn't say boo. We took you in because to us, that's what a community bank is.
Right.
One that's going to be there when you need them, right? Anybody can be there when things are good, right?
Right.
So, and you're right, Peter, it resulted in huge income for the bank. It resulted in, and we're a smaller bank, it resulted in $50 million more of business deposits
Wow.
in 9 months.
Wow.
And I have to tell you, neither I or any of my salespeople asked for that business. Those customers brought their business to us because we did what we did.
So
No,
doing
100%.
good created good. I mean, go figure, right?
That's what it is.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
So do I. That's why it's
from,
nice.
From,
Yeah.
from every aspect, not just in business, but in the community with charitable
Well,
organizations.
we're going
locally.
there now because before you said Empire and Phil is everywhere in the community, which is true.
Everywhere.
They're everywhere, no matter where you look, no matter what event it is.
It's almost annoying.
If they're not, well, yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
Everywhere I get, I see Phil.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
But if they're not physically there, you know you're going to see the logo, you're going to see a sponsorship, you're going to see something. So the way they're ingrained in the community as a bank, you also do tremendous work. I mean, let's touch on a few of them. Your partnership with the hospital, you do fundraisers with folks like Elvis Duran. I mean, you're doing all kinds of stuff. So talk about how the community plays a role in your business.
So similar to what Phil said, supporting the community is what you're supposed to do. And it's not only the right thing to do, it's a good thing to do. It makes you feel good, but you also get it back, right? And we're lucky enough in the restaurant industry to have a platform, right? The restaurant industry is inherently slow during the week and busy on the weekends, right? So what I see from that is we have an opportunity Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday where, we might have a 300-person capacity venue. And, maybe we only serve 30 to 50 people on Monday to Thursday. So if we have this venue, why can't we leverage it to do good, right? It doesn't harm us, doesn't cost us anything. If anything, it brings a lot of positivity, gives staff the ability to work some days that they might not have worked. It gives the local charitable organization, and we could talk about some of the ones that we help in a minute, but it gives them a platform to use our space to raise funds, raise awareness, and that turns into more people in our spaces that may not have been there before. They get eyes on the property and the venue. They get an experience to taste the food and the drinks and the service. And that brings them back in the future for just regular a la carte dining or their own private events. So for me, leveraging these locations when we have the time and the space to dedicate to helping those charities only is a win-win. Like
for everybody.
It's one of those rare scenarios where you can't point at any negative at all.
Right.
Like you can't point at any portion of that where it's negative to anyone.
Right. So saying what Peter's saying is he hosted an event, okay, for the Grant Carbone Foundation.
Right.
Okay, which I was proud to be honored for. It was the first time that I was brought into the Blue Pearl.
Right.
Okay. And just in amazement of the venue, the scenes, seeing the whole New York City skyline just blew me away.
Right.
As he said, that event had, I don't know how many, 150
About 150 people
there. So 150 people, maybe some of them are in there before, now got to see that venue. I will tell you, I go back to that venue.
Of course, right.
Because I love it.
Yeah.
Anytime I got to bring a customer around, I say, you want to go here?
Yep.
So it is magnificent. And Peter, you know what I also do? Your staff will tell you. I take my customer up to show that
them,
room upstairs because I had asked Peter, I said, there were restaurants here before. How come they didn't work? And very simply, he said they had it pretty much backwards. Okay, they had the big space in the restaurant, and the small space for the
the use of the space wasn't the best, most efficient way to use it for Staten Island, right? You have to know your local demographic, right?
We could be nice and say that Staten Island's in and of itself a unique bubble of people. Is that's the most appropriate way to say it?
And I'm lucky enough to have grown up here and have businesses here to know what customers are looking for, what we're lacking in the marketplace, how many seats I need to have a successful restaurant for both a casual style restaurant or a high-end style restaurant. So that space is huge. We clearly had the ability to segment into two different areas for event space and for a la carte dining. It's 12,000 square feet. It's huge. It's
That's huge, right?
Right. So for us,
well, how many do you sit? Not to interrupt.
So in the event space, we sit 150.
Nice.
In the a la carte dining first floor, we sit about 180, including the bar.
Wow. So yeah.
So it's a massive
Just
space.
trying to give scope to anyone listening or watching.
You don't need 330 seats for a la carte dining in Staten Island, right?
Absolutely not.
180 is more than enough by the time you turn over the room, hopefully 2 to 2.5 times on a Friday or a Saturday night. That leveraging that extra space for what's needed on the island, which is event space, particularly high-end event space. There's a lot of mid-range casual event space, but there's very, very few places where you have high-end event space.
Agreed.
Right.
Very few and far between.
You could count them on one hand
Yep.
where you'd consider high-end event space, and Blue Pearl having the panoramic view of the Manhattan skyline and a full view of the Verrazano Bridge. It's, to me, one of the premier event spaces on the island.
Right.
So to me, it was a no-brainer to segment the space the way that we did.
I'm embarrassed. I told him before he came in, I still haven't gotten there. It kills me that I haven't gotten there.
It's
Yeah,
certainly
we'll get you there.
I'm going to go. I'll be there.
and the food is out of this world.
Thank you.
Well, can we talk about that? Are we able to talk about that? Can we
Whatever.
talk about your
Yeah.
prior experience, your prior
sure.
culinary expertise and training? Let's talk about that.
That's the one thing another thing we have in common. We both can't cook.
But come on, a successful entrepreneur, a restaurateur, more than 20, we're losing count, with more in the works opening. Let's talk about your culinary experience
So
and training.
Oh, well, I was going to say there's two different pieces to this, right? So culinary experience, self-taught, but as far as training, I have none, right?
Right.
So one day I decided to buy a chef coat, make my own personal logo, and put it on my chest, and now I'm a chef, right? So that's
it. There you go.
that's
But
how
not,
that's
not
literally how
just
it's
a chef. James Beard recognition. What else?
right.
Throw
So-
some other accolades. I mean, it's not to say that you're just cooking. It's you're recognized in an industry of
Well,
professionally trained folks, right? And like you said, you just
So I
had
think
the passion.
I think it's like exactly. I think it's like anything else. If you're interested and you have a passion for something, you're going to be good at it, right? Especially if you put in the work to train yourself, teach yourself. I did a lot of reading. I did a lot of watching. Other chefs cook. I had the tremendous benefit of working with really high quality, talented chefs in my previous jobs, and also when I opened the Stone House. Chef Antonio Flores was there. He's an amazing chef, and I learned a lot from the people I worked with, and I had a lot of creative ideas, and I love food. So for me, putting flavors together was easy. Learning the ins and outs of certain techniques was a little bit more challenging, but
Right.
I loved it and I was passionate about it. So when you have love and passion for something, you're gonna pay really close attention and you're gonna pick it up quicker than you would a topic that you don't like, right? So for me, it was something easy for me to take a liking to and put the effort behind. And like you said, we've been lucky enough to be recognized by a few different things. James Beard being one of the organizations, New York City Food and Wine Festival.
I forgot the wine fest. Yeah,
Yeah,
there you
so
go.
New York City Food and Wine Festival. We're often winners of different events. Like there's an annual pasta competition we've won 5 years in a row. Soup competition we've won 5 years in a row. We actually won the New York City Food and Wine Festival last year. A few different events. So we take it seriously. It's not just myself and my team. When we do something,
Right.
we try to be the best at it. Every dish on every menu that we make, if it's a classic dish, we try to make the best version of that dish. If it's a classic cocktail, we try to make the best version of that.
Right.
And if it's something that's completely unique to us, we take every component and we try to make the best version of that, buy the best ingredient for that particular item. So,
Right.
we strive to be the best in every way possible. And that way, if you fall a little bit short, you're still pretty close to the top. That's my mentality behind it.
And one of the things, though, that's important as an outsider, right, is that when you do these things, like specifically the New York City Food and Wine, and I forgot about that, you're bringing up Staten Island as well, right? Because there aren't many locations that are even involved in these competitions. Now,
Right.
You
And
know what I mean? So it elevates the borough.
It's a great feeling to be the representative for the borough, because I happen to think Staten Island's got some great food, a lot of great people. But when you go off island, into these events in Manhattan and Brooklyn and in the Hamptons and things like that, you don't see much
No.
of Staten Island.
And you get
there.
laughed at. Be honest. You could say it like, "Oh, you're from Staten Island. Okay, good,
You-
good for you, guy."
Okay, so the
Good for you, guy.
The funny part is, if you go back 6 or 7 years ago to our first food and wine festival, that's the type of looks that we got.
Right.
But we very, very, very quickly
Right.
changed that.
But in the
tone.
beginning,
It
you
bec-
got that, right?
100%. But as the years went on, we became sort of the staples and the
Right.
ones that everyone knew we were going to be solid.
Right.
We were, if it's a competition, we're the ones to be sort of feared, and they know we're going to land, amongst the top. So that's a great feeling.
But the ripple effect of that is that now Staten Island has been given a place or a seat at the table.
So,
You know what I mean?
So he's done such an amazing job in Staten Island and being recognized and for being the top. Now they're pulling you into Jersey. They want you.
Yeah,
Right?
I mean,
Right.
literally pulling us there. We had the mayor of Woodbridge, Mayor John, reach out to us and say that he wanted us to open a Violet's in Woodbridge.
Right.
And Violet's is a special restaurant, and we never thought it would be a 2-location or 3-location type of place. It was a very unique space. It's not one of our brands that we were looking to duplicate, like Sophia's. Sophia's
Right.
is something that we're duplicating. We have 7 locations. We're about to sign on an 8th and continue growing it. But he said, Woodbridge is changing, and they want that kind of quality of food and that vibe and that atmosphere there. So he courted us to come and open in
And you can't say
Woodbridge.
no to the mayor, right?
Yeah,
Like
I
it is
mean,
what it is. What are you
yeah,
going to do?
It was
Even you can't say no. You're
no.
like,
I tried. I did say
Yeah.
no, and he said, "Would you come and meet me just for a conversation?" And I said, "I will always speak to anybody about anything." So having that open mind is important. And it wasn't just myself; it was me and my 2 partners, Phil Farinacci and Ignacio Garcia. We went out, we looked at space, fell in love with it, saw what was happening in Woodbridge. There's a ton of development there.
Yeah.
The demographic is changing for, as far as the restaurants are concerned, for the better. It's a little bit more affluent, a little bit younger, that the direction of the township is going. So we're excited, and that's something that we're hoping to open by the end of the year.
Which is very cool. And we just had an event, and Empire State Bank is now a new member, and I'm sure you are. If you aren't, you will become a member of the Woodbridge Chamber. Do you know Holly and her team over there? Are you a member yet?
Yep.
Yeah, a great team.
Bringing a lot of Staten Island folks
I
over the
know.
bridge,
Wow.
doing great work.
Well, I think many Staten Islanders always thought they belonged to Jersey anyway.
Right.
Well, Anthony does. He's basically in New Jersey.
We talked about community. We talked about the importance of growing a business with a partner, whether it be a bank or a partner physically and on paper.
Yeah.
But talk about some of the hardships, right? So, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, right? We live in an era right now where entrepreneurship is sexy. It didn't used, like when we grew up, correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't
No, it
sexy.
was
It was
it
to
was
school,
go get a stable job.
get a job.
Go get something that's got benefits in a union, and
right. And that's the safe route.
right.
You buy a house, you go on, you move about your business. Now it's cool. So like we did something cool before it was cool, right? But now everyone wants to open a business. Everyone wants to do their own thing. So what were some of the hurdles in the business that you faced that, might be pearls of wisdom to share with anyone listening or watching?
You use the word some. It isn't some. It's an onslaught every day.
Well, at least
It
you're being
is.
honest.
No,
Okay.
if you are not a relentless person, being an entrepreneur is not for you. You
Right.
need to be relentless. You need to be unstoppable. And I don't mean that in like a, pound on my chest type of way. You can't ever let the obstacles win.
Right.
Like you have to have the mentality that you're going to break through, jump over, go around, or dive under whatever the problem
Whatever it
is. You have to figure out how to get to the other side of the problem. And they're not going to stop. The problems are going to continue. It's going to be every day. And the more things you do, the more problems that are going to come up, right? The more avenues that you go down, the more roadblocks there's going to be. The number one thing is people. It's cultivating
People
good
are
people.
the worst. I'm just kidding.
No, I mean,
In every business.
as far as the team is concerned, you have to hire good people. But
Right.
more importantly than hiring good people is cultivate the good people, give them an avenue for growth, help them see the pattern and the pathway to growth. Right? It's not just saying, "Oh yeah, there's growth potential," and then you never talk about it again. You have to allow people to vertically move through the company or laterally move through the company if some position's not necessarily for them, right? We have almost 600 people across the restaurants now that
I was
work
going to
for
ask,
us.
how many people
Right.
do you have?
And what you start to learn quickly is you might have hired somebody for a particular position, and either they're not the best at it or they don't enjoy it. Meanwhile, you could move them one step over to the left or the right, and all of a sudden they're a superstar. Right. So you have to find where people fit the best, and you have to give them the opportunity to shine.
So you said Ignacio. I want to give a shout out to Ignacio because,
Ignacio's the best.
well, but I worked with Ignacio for many years at Angelina's.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And then
yeah.
he went from server, respectfully, to now partner in one of, 20, whatever it is, bread and butter hospitality. So let's talk about the holding company. So how did you structure that? What's the reasoning behind that from a business standpoint and
So-
a financial standpoint?
Yeah, bread and butter hospitality is our quote unquote parent company, although it doesn't own any of the restaurants, right?
Interesting. I didn't know that.
No, it's for marketing and PR. It's a management and marketing
Got it.
company, right? It's a way for the public to tie our brands together. Whereas before, someone might have looked at Sophia's and had no idea that it's the same ownership as Violet's or the Stonehouse, or
Right.
look at Rustic and not realize that it's related to Sophia's. So when you have a customer base that trusts your brand and that likes your brand, lending the credibility and using the credibility of one location to leverage in the next location is
Especially
huge.
it's done out.
It's huge because of it, there's so many great restaurants to choose from, and there's so many options of new places to go and try for the first time, that for us, giving people that piece of comfort to know, oh, they're the same owners as the Stonehouse or Blue Pearl or Violet's or Sophia's, makes it easier for them to trust you on that first visit. So for us, it's
Agreed.
huge.
Yeah.
It's huge. Right. And then there's the other piece of it where, we have a back office of people who work on marketing, work on bookkeeping and accounting and purchasing.
Shout out to Christina.
Yeah. Christina and Chrissy and Dave and Ellen, Julia. I mean, we have an amazing team, and it just keeps growing.
Yeah, and I want to bring that in because I think it's important in what we call our relationship or partnership. I'm very fortunate because I have a team of people, and he's very fortunate, and I could say that because we get to know his team of people
Right.
especially with his back office. My team, when there's an issue, they're feeling the pain like he is.
Right.
They understand when something doesn't work, what it means to him and his people in a business.
Right.
And when you have people like that, they become relentless. They become, we got to figure this out. And I think recently we worked through something, and things develop all the time that I know my team, hourly with his team,
Right.
okay, showing the concern, showing the help, and we got through it, okay. Peter said with Access would text me every few hours,
whatever you gotta do.
whatever few hours, and you know what? I don't take that as like, oh my God, leave me alone.
Right.
I take that as this is an urgency.
Right.
This is what makes the difference between him having a big hiccup, okay, like he said, okay, or having that partner that's just going to try to do their best to work through. But when you have either end,
Right.
okay, because my people have commented about your
course.
people is like, these are just like great people. They're so, like, they got to get this to work. And they're getting it to work because they understand his brand. They understand all of that. So the word partnership sometimes is used
Right.
Too loosely.
Right.
A partnership is the other side that cares just as much as you do about your business.
So business relationship managers are one of the unique things, at least in my opinion, that Empire State Bank offers. Who's one, or how many do you have with all the restaurants and the accounts? Who's your business relationship manager?
So no, we have two dedicated people at Empire that help us through, and Chrissy and Ellen both handle our bookkeeping and accounting department. They speak to them daily,
Right.
and one of the things, obviously, in the restaurant business, there's a million transactions a day in each account. There's money coming in, there's money going out. There's money coming in, there's money going out, and it happens, more often than I would like, that the account doesn't have enough money, and check is about to bounce. And one of the amazing things about Empire is they don't just bounce it and tell you, hey, you didn't have enough money to bounce a check. We get a call first thing in the morning that says, hey guys, just a heads up, your money didn't hit so something's going on with your POS.
Credit card didn't see out, right?
Whatever, something didn't happen, so we're about to bounce a check, so fix it. They give us the opportunity and the time to fix that problem, which is so big.
That's unique, yeah.
Especially in my industry, because like I said, there might be in each account hundreds a day of transactions of in and out.
Right.
And if those things are not happening, the bank helps us catch it and doesn't bounce the check and put us in a scenario where it's a
access to supplies,
it's
access
a
to
domino
anything,
effect.
yeah.
It's a domino effect, and it's crazy.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that has, like, from our perspective, I tell my staff, and I certainly do this, we need to understand the business we're dealing with.
Right.
Yeah, we don't need to know how to cook a meal,
Right.
but we need to understand the financial component. I know many of my competitors, okay, will not make that call. Okay.
None of them.
Okay, they will. Okay.
No, I mean,
You could-
look,
yeah.
we started with many different accounts, right?
Right.
We had a lot of Empire accounts, but we also had.
Right.
I'm not going to name all the
Yeah.
names because that's
Right,
not
right,
necessary. But we had other ancillary accounts where we would have a secondary account for a particular business or even a third account, and none of the other banks are going to make that call.
Yeah, and what it comes from, because I talk to my competitors and I ask the question.
Of course.
Is they look at that business owner as, oh, this is someone that doesn't have the money,
Right.
right?
Because they don't understand what's going on.
That's the rare case.
Right.
The case is when someone like Peter's got money settling from a million places.
Right.
There is sometimes a settlement doesn't happen.
Right.
So that there is so valuable to any business because what it is, it's his face in the marketplace, his face with his vendors, his face with all of that.
Right.
That's what a
100%,
good partner is saving for a business. And
Agreed.
unfortunately, well, fortunately for us
Right.
at Empire, but unfortunately not too many bankers realize
Just a number
that.
in a transaction.
That's
Right.
all it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's
Do you
not
have any words of wisdom about business or about tips or anything before we close? We got a couple more things, but I just want to see if I can.
I mean, we touched on the relentlessness if
Right.
you want to be an entrepreneur, but I guess it's more picking what you enjoy doing or you're passionate about. And if you're passionate about something, and that's the thing to go into business for, or to follow for a career path. Not
Right.
everybody has to be a business owner, right? It's not for everyone.
Correct.
And not everyone wants that, right?
Right.
You have to follow what you want and just make sure that you enjoy what you're doing. And it's the cliche that if you love what you do, you never work a day
Right.
in your life. I work 7 days a week. I don't take days off.
24 hours a day.
I work
Right.
24 hours a day, and I don't feel like I'm working.
Right. Because you
Right.
enjoy what you're doing.
Right. I have a good time every day.
I always say that would be nice though, like to go to a 9 to 5. Like I don't know.
I don't think
that's
you-
never happened.
And
What?
I don't think you'd enjoy it, to be
What do you
honest.
do at 5 o'clock?
The three of us here at this table, I know
Look,
you.
he's
I know you guys pretty well, and I know that if you went home at 5 o'clock and you had the same monotonous day,
you don't
would
know
not
what
be
to do
happy.
with yourself.
Yeah,
What do you do?
Yeah, I
You
can't
don't do it
Right.
yourself.
No way.
No idea. No idea what to do.
Right.
So, did we leave anything out? Is there anything we want to add?
I think, from a banking perspective, I think it's, know who your partner, your financial bank is. And businesses like Peter are like, I can look back in my career as probably one of very few that I was involved directly at the beginning.
Right.
Okay. And watched someone who certainly has worked very hard, certainly someone that's very intelligent, take that first restaurant, right, on a park lease,
Right.
and take it and build it into what he has today. And he's going to continue because he's just a successful individual with a good team around him, good partners. We just love the relationship. From the bank, we just did it recently. We believe that we need to give back. So whenever we maybe have parties, we just got all our pizzas for our kids
Right,
the
of
other
course.
day.
I told them
right,
that, yeah.
right from
From
the other
Rustic,
day.
they did a great- they opened early.
And I want to say that thank you because
course.
to accommodate us and what we wanted to do, they opened the pizzeria earlier.
Reciprocal,
So-
much
Right,
as your folks.
right.
And also to touch on that, to give kudos to my team. I didn't even know that happened. So they're doing the
Right.
right. They're doing the
That's
right thing
great.
behind
Anna
the scenes.
is
yeah.
fantastic.
Anna's
That's
great.
great.
Fantastic.
That's great.
All of our management, all of our staff across the board. I can't say enough about
Yeah.
how lucky we are to have these people around us, because without them, we can't continue to grow.
To learn more about Empire and this podcast, we encourage you to like, follow, and share it. You can check out esbna.com, but tell everyone where we can learn more about you and all of the restaurants, all the locations, where we're going to be.
Let me try to list out
Go ahead.
everything. So it's the Stonehouse at Clove Lakes, Violets on Highland Boulevard, soon to be a Violets in Woodbridge, New Jersey, on Main Street, 10 Main Street. We have Sophia's Taqueria and Sophia's Guac Bar. There's 7 locations currently. You have the Staten Island Mall, Sophia's Guac Bar, Forest Avenue, Bay Street, Amboy Road. We have one in Toms River, New Jersey, Ledgewood, New Jersey, and Old Bridge, New Jersey. With more to come, we're about to sign a couple of leases for Sophia's to continue growing that brand. Sally's Southern Barbecue on Forest Avenue. We have Rustic Pizza and Pastaria on Richmond Road, formerly from Lincoln Avenue. We had a small
Right.
space that we outgrew pretty quickly, and we're lucky enough to find a larger space that we recently moved into back in November. Beautiful dining room, great bar. just a classic New York style pizzeria, but on an elevated level. We have, we make fresh pasta and, take things up a little bit.
And the phone number is 212 Galamad. Come on.
That's for you. That's for you, Anthony. That's definitely sounds better. Sounds better with your accent than mine, right? So Rustic Pizza and Pastaria on Richmond Road. We have Blue Pearl in Irby. It's 37 Navy Pier Court. That's beautiful, modern Asian fusion seafood restaurant. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful space. In my opinion, one of the nicer restaurants on the island. Right next door to that, we're opening a place called Pearl Lounge, which is both an event space for smaller events up to about 45, 50 people, but it's also going to be like a sexy late night cocktail lounge. And that should be open within the next 30 to 45 days. We also have Caroline's Tavern in Avenel, New Jersey, opening up shortly. That looks like it's a late June, early July opening. That's
Nice. We got something to look forward to.
Classic American.
Something over the summer.
Classic American tavern. Think, burgers, French onion soup.
Nice.
Just a great classic American restaurant. And I have to look at my
was
sleeve.
gonna say,
Wait. You got to go upstate yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Binnakill Tavern in the Catskills, as well as Tito Banditos, which is in Pine Hill, also in the Catskills. Soon I will be opening a place in Sarasota with my brother called Carved, which is a sandwich shop.
Wow. I didn't even know that one, I don't think.
And I forgot also.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't keep track. So Carved is looking to be about 2 months out as well. I'm excited to do that. It's I've been pushing my brother to get involved for a long, long time, and he moved out to Florida or down to Florida during COVID.
Right.
And he quickly realized that all the restaurants there were really, really busy and had mediocre food, so it kind of bothered him. And he said, "We got to do something." I said, "I've been telling you for a long time."
Right.
So we're excied to get that open.
Here's the hardest question: which is your favorite and why?
So
Talk about putting you on the spot.
That's very, very difficult. They're all special in their own right. So the Stone House was the first. It's beautiful. It's picturesque. It's a historic building in the middle of the park. So that one is always near and dear to me. And it
Took my engagement photos there,
yeah,
so
and
I'm biased.
it was the first. It's where Chef's Loft was born, and that's where my sort of culinary playground was, and it allowed me to be super creative. And a lot of the notoriety and the James Beard stuff and the Food and Wine Festival stuff, that all was born from Chef's Loft. So so Stonehouse has a special place. Violet's is named after my mother, and we do a lot of charitable work out of there. So that's very, very emotional, part of the group of restaurants for me. And that's, we touched on the charitable side of this, but we opened the restaurant making a $250,000 commitment to the then, unnamed cancer center that they were building. The idea of the cancer center, and we wanted to have an impact on that. Since then, we've raised the commitment from $250,000 to $500,000, and it's now named the Florina Cancer Center, and it's open. Right. So when we made that commitment, there was no groundbreaking yet. They hadn't started building it, so that we were a small part of making that happen for Staten Islanders, which is super, super special and a nice honor. That's definitely one of the special ones, and then all the others have a really special place because they're all really unique and different. Sally's is named after Phil's mother, who was a wonderful, wonderful person.
I never knew that. Okay.
Yeah, it's super
Interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah, super special also. And Sophia's is named after Ignacio's daughter.
That one I know.
Yeah, and quick backstory on that is Ignacio and I worked together for a long time, side by side as servers. He was my boss when we worked at Angelina's. I was his boss when he worked at South Fin, and then he came and worked for me when we opened the Stone House, and we would always talk about opening a place. And he was a single father of 3, and his youngest was Sophia, his daughter. And he would always say, "When Sophia is ready, when Sophia is ready." And one day he said, "I think Sophia is ready." He had an epiphany. One day he saw Sophia make herself dinner, and he said, "She's ready." And then I said, "Let's go. Let's find the place." And from there, the first Sophia's was born. And 1 turned to 2, turned to 7, and we're still going. And it's an amazing brand. We see it as a national brand, and we're in sort of the infancy of a really special national brand.
Yeah, my 5-year-old's favorite place, by the way. Yeah, not that has any bearing on it,
5
but he
now?
loves
5?
it. Yeah, I know. He's an adult now, but his favorite place to go. He loves it when we go there. So you would think that banking, food, really doesn't go together, but the nuance and the point of this is that it's the partnership to your point, Phil, of the business aspect of helping each other grow, understanding what the business is on both ends, right? So the ability of
care about
having
him.
your
Care
folks,
about his success.
Right. So you want to end it off, close out with some remarks?
I guess just as a closeout, Peter is become a dear friend. Very proud to see his success, and I know there's more continued success. And Empire is just happy to be a part to help him along the path, and we look to continue to do that, Peter. And I really appreciate you joining us today, and you're a wonderful story that I think is inspiration to many young entrepreneurs out there.
And we're going to continue to do this. We're going to bring on new guests as well to highlight their success stories. And once again, this is From the Vault. We encourage you to like, follow, and share, and subscribe, of course. Peter, thank you so much for being with us.
It was a
appreciate your
pleasure, no,
time.
really, and I appreciate everything. And truly, Phil, I know we speak not so frequently, but whenever we see each other out, we speak. I appreciate everything. Really.
Well, we're there for each other. That's the important thing.
Thank you, gentlemen. Once again, this is From the Vault, the Empire State exclusive podcast talking about all things community, all things business. And we encourage you to like, follow, share, and of course, subscribe. And until the next time, thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.